Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of the Sacred Path Recovery Podcast. I'm James Francis. With me is Professor O'Connor. We're coming to you from the New Mexico State Recording Studio. For the last podcast, we were talking about de-stressing, and I know that I misspelled it on the title on the YouTube page, and it's distressing, but I think it's supposed to be DESTRESSING, de-stressing from all the BSing. In that podcast, we were discussing, the methods and the ways to help individuals and people out there kind of cope with all the craziness that's going on in our government and out in the world. And right now, like I said in the last podcast, I think a lot of what I'm dealing with is just that anger and frustration and kind of like uncertainty for all the BSing that's going on in our country right now, and it's getting pretty crazy.
It's pretty distressing for sure.
Yeah. So, but at the end of that podcast, we kind of started touching on to the subject of frequencies and vibrations and how individuals can vibrate at a certain level. And what that means is that, we have emotional vibrations, and the higher we vibrate, the better we feel, the more positive our ideas, the more, the higher our vibration. So what my understanding about vibration is, it comes from the book of the Hermetica, and I touched lightly upon that book, but it talks about how everything starts as one big giant, form or mass, and the more we break it down, smaller and smaller and smaller, what we all come down to pretty much is just a bunch of atoms and electrons and
Particles.
yeah, and constantly these things are moving and vibrating at certain levels. And so Albert Einstein said that everything in life is vibration, and science in the field of quantum physics discusses these vibrations and uses the term of vibration as the periodic back and forth motion of particles when a physical system is displaced from its equilibrium. There is a correlation of science to the frequency of human thought and emotion, and one, our equilibrium is constantly being displaced while interacting with our environment and other people. This means we have a certain level of control over our environment and relationships with people, and we can control our interactions with people and places and things and the stuff that we expose ourselves to. And by that matter, we have that ability to control our vibrations. But first, in order to control these vibrations, we have to be consciously aware of what they are and how they work. So we're going to try to go ahead and...
Right. Well, when we're talking about vibration, we're talking a little bit about, energy and the way energy moves, and the way thought moves, and the way emotion moves. Science will talk about it as particles being placed from one place to another or moving around. But in the realm of psychological sciences, what we're really looking at is human thought and emotion. And so when we start thinking about how does our thought create a vibration, how does our emotion cause a vibration or a difference in frequency, we start thinking about, okay, well, when our equilibrium is displaced, what's really happening is we're being affected by people in our environment, by our environment, by relationships, by what we see in the news, by what we see on our phones. We are affected by everything in our world. And when we think about that, we might not realize how much affects us, but all you got to do is sit down and watch the news and you're like, oh my gosh, it affects you. You suddenly get angry or upset, or you begin to to cry, or you begin to tell people this is crazy, whatever it is. Um, and we are easily influenced by what we see, what we hear, things we smell or taste, and people around us.
So we have here a guide, and it tells us how to use the chart of emotional frequency. And the higher that our vibrations are, the stronger our vibrations are. It goes into the realms of energetic vibrations, and that's related to your creativeness, your ability to have positive thoughts, positive actions. And the lower your vibration goes from 120, from 1 to 20 hertz, that's more like a destructive. So more or less, if you're vibrating at a low vibration, um, you're like feeling depressed, maybe scared, fearful,
Right.
and it relates to what's going on around you. And I wanted to touch back about what you said about the equilibrium. So the
Right.
equilibrium is outside influences, and those outside influences, they can influence us in both a positive as well as negative way, right?
Right, exactly. They've studied vibration and frequency, and they've studied electromagnetic fields. And the National Library of Medicine basically demonstrated that somebody that's chronically exposed to um, a frequency of electromagnetic fields. So when we think about electromagnetic fields, we're talking about um, electric poles outside your house, telephone poles, and of course, towers. When we talk about 5G, we talk about the internet, we talk about our phones, all emit an electromagnetic frequency. And that electromagnetic frequency can affect your feelings, it can affect your emotions, it can affect, what's going on with your health. It's been linked to, certain things like poor quality of sleep, depression, stress, and anxiety. Sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll say, "Oh, I'm just anxious. I'm just anxious." Or I'm upset. I don't know why. I feel stressed out. Um, and we start looking around. Well, look at the diet. Look at your health. Look at what you're doing. Are you exercising? Are you what are you doing for work? Are you stressed out? And what's in your environment? What's around your house? What's outside of your house? For example, uh, for many thousands and thousands of years, human beings fell asleep to they would watch the fire. They'd sleep around a fire pit and be able to see those orange and yellow tones, and it would lull them into a sleep. Well, in the last, for 30, 40 years, we basically have fallen asleep to the television, which emits a blue light.
Yep.
And basically, they've discovered that this blue light can affect the quality of your sleep, the quality of your dream time. It can also translate into other things like anxiety and stress.
And some of the things that's listed on this chart that it talks about is what to know. And one of the things it says is that emotions can be defined as energy in motion. So, like I said before, like when we have these positive thoughts, this positive mindset, these positive actions, that's positive energy in motion. This chart that we're looking at right here is divided into a half by stronger or creative emotions and weak or destructive emotions. The left column is the energetic vibrations that tells us, what we're vibrating at, and it indicates the unit of measurement through the hertz, used to measure the emotion. Energy moves in a vibrational pattern. The middle column is the level, and it describes the consciousness experienced at each energetic vibration. At the lowest level, we have shame, guilt, empathy, grief, and fear. But at the highest level, we have enlightenment, peace, joy, love, and so on. The right column, it states how it describes the state of being that is experienced, and it says humiliation, blame, despair at the very bottom. But at the top, it says bliss, serenity, reverence, and that goes to show how these hertz
Hurts.
hertz are measured. And we talked about it in another podcast how they were doing experiments on sheets of paper, and they would put that white sand on top of a black sheet of paper, and they would play vibrations at certain levels. And there are certain vibrations like 432. I know is a real unique vibration that when it was hitting that sand, it made this like real nice pattern. And then they would play like different hertzes, and some of them wouldn't have like a real strong pattern. Some of them would just look like kind of like crazy, but some of them at the higher levels, like I stated before, they have this ability to make this real nice pattern on it. So
Right. Well, they've done a lot of experiments like this in the past, and they've been looking at the relationship between vibration, frequency, quantum physics. They've been looking at all of these things and figuring out, gosh, how does it work? Well, what they discovered is that if you're at what we consider a low vibration, say you're full of hate and anger and you're spouting it, or you're doing mean, hateful things to people, you're at a lower vibration. And what that means is you're dissatisfied with your life. You're not happy with it. You're blaming other people. You have regret. You have anxiety. You may have craving for different addictions, things like that. And those are all considered lower. And when you're at a lower rate, you're just unhappy and dissatisfied. And also, you're not able to manifest great things into your life. When you're at a higher level, say you wake up in the morning and you're like, hello, day. I'm ready to greet the day. You get up, you make your bed, you maybe say a prayer, you take a run, you greet the sun. You have a sense of appreciation for being alive, appreciation for the things you have in your life. You have gratitude. You're at a higher vibration. And when you're at a higher vibration, you're more likely to manifest great things to you, because there's a universal law that says synchronicity is attracted to vibration.
Yep.
And so if you're at a very low rate and you're thinking, oh, my life is crap, guess what you attract? You attract crap. If you're at a higher rate and you're thinking, oh man, everything's wonderful, even if you feel bad sometimes, and you can still overlook that and say, gosh, I'm so happy to be alive, I'm happy to be here. And you find that joy and love and peace in your life, you will attract more of the same. And so it's very important to understand, if you want to manifest, you've got to think about how you're thinking. You got to think about what you're doing in your life. Everyone thinks, oh, I can just think a good thought and great things will come to me. Like I'm going to wish for $1 million and it'll be here tomorrow. Well, it's not quite that simple. You always have to back up your thoughts with emotions, and you have to back up your emotions with actions. And so when I'm telling people, you can't be at a high vibration when you're walking around the hall gossiping about somebody else. You can't be at a higher vibration if you're thinking about your life in negative terms. If you're out to hurt anyone in any way, that's a lower vibration. And so you can't be manipulating people, harming people to get your way. That's still considered a lower vibration.
Yep. And touching back on what you were talking about earlier about man going to sleep to the light of the fire compared to, the blue light that we have. Studies show that blue light has that ability to kind of mess up our inner clock, I guess you could say. But another thing that I wanted to talk about was that, and I've said this before in other podcasts too, is that we live in a fast-paced world these days, and unfortunately, it's my opinion that we've kind of fallen away from the little things in life that kind of bring appreciation to ourselves. Miss O'Connor was talking about waking up every morning with a sense of gratefulness, and I was taught growing up that we are supposed to wake up every morning and greet the sun, say our prayers, say thank you for another day of life, and to be grateful for that, to kind of appreciate the sunsets, to appreciate the clouds in the sky when they look beautiful and all that. But like I said, this fast pace of life has has made us forget about those little things. We're constantly distracted by what we see on TV, by things that are pumped into our thought system by social media and electronic devices. And but then again, so and then the second point that I wanted to make was that what Miss O'Connor was talking about too was that it's all interconnected. Our thoughts are interconnected with our actions too as well. People often get tripped up by that idea that as long as we keep a positive mindset, that everything is going to be all right. But at the same time, I've come to understand for myself that, that positive mindset is interconnected by my positive actions that I do on an everyday life. Because if I'm doing good things and helping others and just doing the best that I can, that allows me to raise up my vibration and to kind of just have that positive mindset. And the second part that this leads into is the vibration and frequency are interlinked. The National Library of Medicine showed that chronic exposure to lower frequency electromagnetic fields, such as telephone wires or telephone poles in your area, resulted in poor sleep quality, depression, anxiety, EFL, electromagnetic fields, and they have that ability to cause negative effects on the body and mind. And I know that a lot of people were kind of getting worried about like the 5G.
Right, the cell phone. And there's been some studies out that children, very young children that are handling a cell phone or using the cell phone, there's a higher link to brain cancer in these very young children, just because their brain is starting to develop and yet it's being exposed to a constant electromagnetic field emitted from the cell phones. And so this is a good reason to keep your cell phones away from your children. I know it's easy to entertain them by giving them the phone, but they need to be playing. Children need to play to develop a lot of communication skills and language and thinking and understanding how to interact with other people. And if they're on the phone, they're not doing what they need to develop so that they're able to go and do well in school.
The last part talks about entrainment as well, which refers to the synchronization of two or more rhythmic systems where one system's rhythm influences and aligns with another, creating a harmonious or coordinated pattern.
Right, right. And, one of the things that I wanted to mention, and when you're talking about thoughts and, um, you know, we can't ignore emotions. In our society, emotions are looked down upon. Like it's not an intellectual process if you have an emotion. But the issue is we are human beings and we have emotions and we need to acknowledge them. We need to learn about them. We need to know what we feel when we feel it. Have you ever met someone who doesn't seem to have any emotion or any feeling whatsoever? Those people are very low vibrational, very low functioning. Yes, they may function well at the intellectual level, but if they can't empathize, if they can't understand emotions or what's going on with people's emotions, then they're missing out on the greater part of being human. And so when we talk about entrainment, we're talking about the synchronization of vibrations. We're talking about, for example, When you're in, let's say you're working with someone, if they're a high vibration and they're really excited about their projects and they're excited about what they're doing in their life and they're excited about their life, your vibration will follow their vibration, which is great because then when groups get together, they're able to function together as a whole to a greater good for all concerned. The same can happen if people are angry and fighting and dissatisfied or unhappy. If one or two people get together that are angry, and you see it all the time. You see people, oh, did you see what's on the news? Did you hear what's going on? And they're angry and they're discussing it. We do it here, James and I. I'm like, oh, I got to calm down, because we will talk about certain things and we'll both get on the same page. Our vibrational rate will synchronize, and so we have to stop and say, "Wait a minute. Let's say a quick prayer. Let's get focused. Let's get grounded. Let's focus on what our goal is, what our mission is." So, when you find yourself upset by either what you see happening in the world, or what other people are saying, I don't want to discount what people are talking about. But on the other hand, unifying in the name of love can go a long way for a group.
And it's true, I can attest to the fact just from my own personal experience that this stuff is draining, being frustrated, being angered, being just irritated. It takes a lot out of you, it makes you tired. It makes you just want to shell up,
Right.
and then just don't want to mess with people. And that's that ability to have that kind of negative frequency come into your life. So, and as you all know, I'm still struggling on a weekly basis to put that thing down, or not necessarily put it down, but stay away from certain news feeds. But it's unavoidable these days because, like me, I want to stay aware of what's really going on,
Right.
Unfortunately now it just seems like it's a bunch of crazy stuff that's going on.
And there's changes every day. So we're watching, we're aware, and we feel it. We feel it in our emotions. We feel it in our body. You can wake up, crying, or you can wake up happy, or you can wake up, dissatisfied and angry, and basically, try to figure out, gosh, why do I feel this way? Well, a lot of it is an influence from what we've seen. When we're talking about entrainment, we're talking about coordinating our frequencies, our vibrations. And if you are sitting at a frequency or a hertz of the news and you can't get out of that, then it's only going to get worse. And you don't want to do that. You want to get into your higher level. This is what David R. Hawkins called the map of consciousness. And what they did was they mapped out basically they looked at the frequency or vibration of different emotional states. Also, they looked at their view of life. They looked at their God view or their view of their spirituality view. And they looked at sort of the process that people went through. For example, at the top of the list is enlightenment or peace. Let's look at peace. So at peace, you're vibrating at a 600 hertz. You can have a feeling of bliss. You can have a perfect view of life, like everything's great. Your spiritual view is a sense of being all being part of God, being part of spirituality. And you can have a sense of illumination. Your process is an illuminated process. So you go about your day from this place of being illuminated or being pure consciousness. Whereas If you're at the lowest end of the spectrum and you're operating from a place of guilt or shame, for shame, you have a sense of you're only vibrating at like 20 hertz, which is very low. Your emotional state is humiliation. Your view of life is miserable. You have a sense of God despising you or a sense of spirituality alienating you. And you have a process of elimination is your process. You're like, oh, I just want to get through this day. I want to get this done, this one, go back to bed or whatever. And so we tend to look at the map of consciousness and start realizing, oh, my thoughts, my feelings matter. And where I'm at, they affect my vibration. And when they affect your vibration, you're going to attract the greater things into your life. That's that synchronicity or entrainment. And so, I'm here to tell you that, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions make a difference. Like I said, you can't be walking down the halls gossiping about someone and have it not bounce back on you.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do that. You've got to put out what you want back.
So, what was I going to say? So, like, food has an influence on how you can feel as well. Like, if you're eating too much sugar,
Right.
too much fat, does that
Right.
have an ability to kind of affect you in a
It's fat.
negative way?
Yeah, fat, sugar, and salt.
Salt.
Yeah, if you're having a lot of that, it's not going to affect your health in a good way. And it can also affect your mood in a negative way.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're used to eating a lot of junk food, we think we need that to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But when you decide to detox and actually eat healthy, maybe not drink those things that are bad for you, but like those sugary drinks, but drink healthy things, and eat healthy things, all of a sudden you find yourself more energetic. You feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Your body system loves healthy food. Your liver will feel better. Kidneys, everything in your system will function better if you're eating healthier.
So we have another picture here, and I'm trying to show it to you guys, but unfortunately, kind of like the light
I don't think it's going to show up
is
there.
off. But can you explain what this chart?
It's basically a chart that says if you're kind of going through life and you just think, oh, life is me, whatever I do is life, you're kind of missing part of the picture. If you say life is happening through me, you feel more like you're participating in life and that you're able to sort of surrender to whatever's happening as if you have no control.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like life is happening to you, you just go along with whatever happens. People might say things to you. It might make you upset. It might not. Or you can have the attitude of I have a responsibility. Life is by me. I make life happen. We take control. We take control of our thoughts, our emotions. We take control of our actions. We look at how we're living life and we determine, do I really want to live life this way? Do I want to be healthy and happy? Do I want to vibrate at a higher level? Do I want to attract the great things in life to me? Or do I not? Am I the person that's only happy when it's raining? I think there's a song, I'm only happy when it rains. There's a song like that. So, if you're that kind of person, you might be in the midst of a lot of drama and facilitating a lot of drama in your life or in your circle. But really, it doesn't have to be that way. You can make choices. So part of really living a really fulfilled, happy life is, first of all, knowing who you are, being in touch with your feelings and emotions and actions, making decisions, setting goals for your life, and, deciding this is the path I want to follow instead of maybe the alternate path.
Yeah.
And that's what happens sometimes when you find yourself in an addiction. You're you're not really thinking about any of that. You're just following the addiction. But when you wake up to the point where you can say, I determine how my day goes, I determine how my life goes, then you can make decisions that are for you, that are better for you, better for your health, better for your life.
And I like to say that I moved along in that ability to do that, and that vibrating at a higher level brings that ability to use your intuition to a whole nother level, whereas before I was hesitant, I was uncertain on certain decisions. But once you start vibrating at that higher level and you become wholeheartedly committed to what it is you want with your life, in your life, you have no second thought about what you need to do and when you need to go ahead and jump, or as they say, strike when the iron is hot.
Right.
Some of the things that I've recently come into using to do this is meditation. I think meditation has played a big part in my life on being able to kind of discombobulate and gather myself back together. That meditation for me is kind of going out into the mountains and just, walking and just kind of not really I guess being in the moment, but not being like held down by by things. I don't know. My mind just is able to kind of just be
Right. Well,
zen. I guess zen is the best word. And what I mean by that is that I read this book a long time ago about one guy asked, "What is zen?" And the master told the student, "Zen is just like breathing. We don't think about it anymore. It just is, and it brings us life. But if we were ever to try to spend every single waking moment of our lives concentrated on remembering to breathe, then we would die, because that's something." But
we wouldn't be able to control our
yeah,
lives
yeah,
very well, I guess. Well, Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this mind-body coherence, when your mind and body are working together. And when you're ruled by an addiction, you give up the choice. You give up the choice of what happens to your body, what happens to your mind, what happens to your life. You give up your life for that addiction. And when you are in control, you can say, you know what? Not today. I'm not going to do that today. Not this minute. Not this hour. You make a choice. Like when I'm trying to give up sugar, which is frequently, I go to the store and I'm shopping and I pick up, say, a candy bar or something, and I'm like, okay, do I really want this? No, I'm not going to buy it. If I buy it, I'll eat it. So I put it away and say, not today, sugar. You're not going to win out over me today. And it takes sort of being mindful in those moments and saying, you know what, I'm choosing healthy things. I'm choosing healthy food. I'm putting the things back that will not help me on my path. And so when your mind and your body start working together, you start opening up avenues for more energy to come in, for synchronicity to come in. And also what I like to say is it opens up your superpowers, your ability to start being able to feel what other people feel, and to use your abilities in new ways. And so those are things that we want to look at, and what makes our vibration higher. It's not buying a cart full of alcohol or a bunch of sugar. It just doesn't work that way. So we need to think about, what brings our vibration up. And I wanted to talk a little bit about a Japanese researcher by the name of Dr. Emoto. Dr. Emoto did a book called The Hidden Messages in Water. He did what he called water studies. And he realized that there's a lot of people in the world that didn't have clean water. And he was looking for ways to improve water. And one of the experiments he did was he would fill these containers full of water, and he would basically play music. Like one container of water would get classical music, another container would get, say, rock and roll, another container would get like rap, another container would get some other country western music. He experimented with all different kinds, and what he discovered was really amazing. What do you think he discovered, James?
Like we were saying about those grains of sand, the certain vibrations, certain sounds, music, whether it's positive or negative, has that influence on, how that water is going to form.
That's right. It formed. What they did was they would take a droplet of the water and they'd freeze it instantaneously, and it would freeze into a snowflake. And the more complex the snowflake was, the higher the vibration of the music was. So they found that certain levels of music actually increased your vibratory rate. And when that happened, it would form these beautiful snowflakes. It would bring a coherence to the water. Now, other levels that were considered to be negative, they would bring a chaos to the water. The chaos, it could never form into a beautiful snowflake. It would be kind of look like it, it wouldn't really form into a shape or anything like that. And so they began to do more and more experimentations on this, and they started doing things like using words. So under one container of water, they would put the word love. Under another one, they would put filth or pain or things like that. They would use different words to describe different emotional states of being. And what they discovered is the words that were under the water, like the word love, would form the most beautiful, intricate, complicated snowflake. Whereas other words like pain or filth would create, again, those very chaotic shapes. And so they began to do more experiment with music, words, thoughts, and emotions. And they found that our thoughts and our words affected the water. And so it kind of translates into a lesson for us, because we are water. We are a percentage of water in our body. And what we think does affect what we do. It affects our words, it affects our actions. And so when we're having negative thoughts, when we're having negative emotions, we're actually causing more harm to ourselves and others, because we're talking entrainment. If we're entrainment with each other, we can sense and feel each other's emotions. We can definitely hear our words, and we know when the energy is a lower level.
I'm glad you went back to that, because it says here that social entrainment is defined as people can synchronize their behaviors and rhythms when interacting with each other, such as at dances, rituals, social events. Brainwave entrainment is brainwaves or neural oscillations can be entrained by external stimuli, such as rhythmic sounds or flashing lights, potentially influencing brain activities and states of conscious. Human movement and music, people often synchronize their movements, like tapping their feet or clapping to the rhythm of music. And I think that some of us have been there to those social events where we're all of one like mind, and you can feel that positive energy in the air when people are just having that good time together. I like that part that it says about the flashing of lights. That goes to show, because people who suffer from epilepsy, I believe it is, if they're put in front of a strobe light, that's enough to disorient them and
That's
throw them
right.
into a seizure. And that just shows. The other day I was watching a show too that was talking about how everything, not everything, but light moves at certain wavelengths. So red is kind of like wide open wavelengths, but the further down the spectrum, all the way to blue, blue travels at very short wavelengths. And that's that, what I believe is the rhythm of life. Everything has an ebb and a flow to it, a waxing and a waning.
That's
And
right. That's right. We have our circadian rhythms. So, our internal biological clock is our circadian
yep,
rhythm, and it can be entrained to external cues like light um, and sound. Things like that can affect our circadian rhythm. So, when they when they spring the clock forward an hour, they
yep,
spring that clock backward an hour, it does affect us.
it still affected me.
It's still affecting me too. But it's very important that we become aware of what we're feeding ourselves, not only in the terms of healthy food and healthy thoughts. What kind of music are we listening to? Is it the higher vibrational music or not? And what is your intention for your life? And what is your focus? And what are you being mindful of? You know?
And that's something that they emphasize the importance of when you're like in a treatment program as well. I know that when I was in my inpatient treatment, they kind of were they limited your ability to listen to certain types of music because they didn't want you listening to music that talked about drugs or alcohol because they felt that that would be a trigger. And some people, I mean, that is a triggering effect. Sometimes if you hear old music from long time ago, that brings back those kind of memories, or even like smell. When you smell a
Right.
certain perfume
Yep.
or a certain kind of scent, that brings back these kind of emotional memories that
Yeah.
you may have related to that smell or
Exactly.
sound. So,
Exactly. Smells can bring you back to a certain time and
mhm.
place, and music, of course, and food sometimes.
Yep.
I know when I worked in the rehab center, the women were concerned because they had to get rid of their clubbing clothes, the clothes they went out with, because they knew that that always, once they put on those clothes, they would go out and they would use, and so they had to literally get rid of those and move on to another form. So I would talk to them about getting rid of those, and then being mindful about what you put on your body, what kind of clothes you're wearing, and what it says about you.
So when you're trying to re-establish a positive lifestyle, it's important to kind of, like you said, establish these new routines. You make routines a habit until it becomes, just second nature to you. I've spoken with some of my friends, and we've gotten into those routines of exercise. And I know that certain days when you're unable to make it to the gym or get out and run, you kind of feel this like, oh, I didn't get to do it today, and but that's
Right.
positive. That's positive. Changing your mindset, because whereas in the beginning, it may have been a struggle or a challenge to get up off the couch and go run those few miles, but after a while it's like I need to get out there and do it because it helps me to feel better.
Right. If you're used to functioning at a lower vibration, you don't know any better sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like you until you give up the junk food and you eat healthy, you don't know how much more energy you can get by eating healthily or by discontinuing any kind of addictive substances. And it's the same with working out. It's sort of like you might go to the gym and be like, oh my God, my muscles are so sore. It's I haven't worked out in forever, and oh, it's so painful, and you might complain about it for a while, but then if you keep going every day, eventually you're like, man, I love the burn, it feels so good, my body likes it. It's the same with your mind. You go to school and you're like, oh, stuff is so hard. I'm trying to learn this and math and science and humanities and all of these courses, and it seems difficult. But the more you do it, the more your brain can
Yep.
can incorporate that knowledge and that information, and pretty soon you want the burn, so you go for the bachelor's degree, you go for the master's
Mhm.
degree, and the ultimate burn is the PhD. You
Oh, yeah.
go for that, but your mind gets stronger and stronger, so you find yourself wanting that. You want to be able to think about things in a different way.
So in addition to meditation and the things that help us to kind of become set back in those positive mindsets, some of the other things that are listed here is of course become aware of your thoughts. And we got to remember that our thoughts can be influenced by the type of music we listen to, the type of activities that we do in our free time, such as if you like to go dancing, if you like to go moving, exercising, um, the ability to be around like minded, positive minded people and planning to do something to, help yourself, help others, spend time in nature, laugh with your friends, watch funny movies, affirm positive affirmations, waking up every morning to pray or pray at night, and basically just becoming self aware and stating your gratitudes every single day. I know that there's a lot of things in my life that I wish I could have, but I'm thankful every single day. And I take the time to, or at least I try. I try to take the time every day to say, I'm thankful for what I have today. Even if today was a dragon day, or even if I got nothing done whatsoever, even though I know I should have been doing my homework assignments. So, but it's gonna be all right once we get into these positive mindsets and these higher vibrations of life that we
Right.
should live by.
Right. And sometimes you don't realize your life has been, you've been trained, you've been programmed over time to do a certain thing in certain order during the day. And sometimes you get stuck in this trap of those monotonous everyday kind of same feelings, same thoughts, same actions. And what you have to do is, once you become mindful, you got to change it up.
Mhm.
You jump out of bed that morning, and instead of saying a dirty word, you jump up and you put on a happy song, put on your walk on song, put on, something that gets you excited, that makes you dance, makes you move. Turn it up and get out there and start dancing as you get through your day, you know. Jump in the shower. When you're in the shower, make it a quantum shower, basically state, I'm releasing these things I need to release.
Yep.
I'm releasing my bad mood. I'm releasing my addictions. I'm releasing toxic people out of my life, toxic situations, relationships, whatever it is. But become more mindful of every minute of the day. And if you find yourself getting distressed or, angry, upset, first of all, acknowledge it. Say, okay, you're sad because of this or that. What are we going to do to fix it? What are we going to do to change it? And then start changing your mood, change your mind. You can do that. You can change your thinking, and then you can change your emotions. But you have to take control, and you have to become mindful, and you have to love yourself enough to say, okay, what would shock me into a state of happiness?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of us, especially like men, we have this closed mindedness about new things, trying new things. And I never thought that I'd be doing yoga, but here I am going to yoga class, and the benefits that I've been able to experience by just doing yoga are pretty cool, because like there's something about the one that we're doing now. I think it's Kundalini or something like that. But we do these breathing exercises, and one of the most amazing things I felt was like this kind of like cooling feeling
Yeah.
going up my spine, and then just kind of like permeating my whole body. Um,
Yeah, you can't feel certain things unless you're inhabiting your body, you're present in your body. And if you've been taught to numb out or not be aware, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on the greater aspects of being a human.
yeah, definitely. And then another thing that I was able to experience was the sound bowls, where they like hit
Oh,
it, and it's just like,
oh, they're beautiful, aren't they?
it was pretty cool, because like,
Yeah.
we were all sitting in a circle. We sat down. You don't have to sit like cross-legged or anything. You can even lay down. But I remember sitting there and just like having that, the person that was conducting the sound bowl,
Mhm.
she hit it, and it just kind of like, and that whole thing, like it just felt like vibrating, going out and out and out.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
felt good. There's something about
Mm.
that goes back to the hertz.
The resonance, or the
Yeah.
entrainment, you hear that you feel that vibration,
Yeah.
and you hear it in the sound. and your body will align to that.
And it's during that time that the person who's conducting it, she kind of like was telling us, okay, now you're gonna be. She tells us, like open your mind, think about positive thoughts, think about these good things, and
Right, and you can look up those sound bowls on on YouTube, or the solfeggio music.
there you go.
If you look up the solfeggio music, I never can say it right, but I'm getting better every day in every way. Yep, there we go. Positive thoughts. So the frequencies for this music is considered a healing frequency, and so there's a group of people known as solfeggio that does different types of music, and you can find it on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
Or you can look it up on, like Apple Music or Amazon, whatever music that wherever you get your music, you can find brain music. I love to use the brain music for meditation because it's so calming and relaxing. Also, sleep music is great, but the brain music, it alters your brain waves. It helps you to get into a state of deep relaxation. So look for these tools. The other day I had bells, like chimes, that I had recorded, or I found a recording of chimes ringing, and I just love the sound of it. And I was playing this music in my house, and my sister came in. She was like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds so good." And so we will attune to these sounds, to these vibrations, and they're very healing for you. So keep that in mind when you're focusing on the things that would heal you.
I think for a lot of people that kind of like meditation session has a lot of benefits for people that are first are kind of hesitant but still want to kind of see if it works.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend going to listen to the sound bowl, to the solfeggio. What's the meditation that you had us do for class that one time where we all got to just sit there and breathe and
Gosh, I've done a lot of
you
meditations.
like counted us. That was cool too. That was a good one.
I use the brain music, I think, for that. But you can also find like rain. You can find water, like rivers or oceans. You can find rain on a roof. You can hear wind. You can find all kinds of music that involves nature and nature sounds, and those are amazing for you. They can really help heal you on many different levels.
So let me play just a little. I guess this is 174 hertz of solfeggio. Oh, it's kind of like we need Tommy back, man. Tommy's our audio
Put it up
guy.
to the mic. There we go.
It's kind of like grainy though. I like that.
If you listen to it, I both James and I, you can immediately we relaxed. Our bodies relaxed. We kind of moved into a state of relaxation and calmness. We even closed our eyes a little bit just to listen to it.
Right?
So it can change your mind and your emotions instantaneously. But you gotta find it and use it as a tool.
And I think one of these days we gotta have you do us like a walkthrough, and like people who watch the podcast can go ahead and find themselves a comfortable spot to close their eyes, allow themselves to decompress, and just get that experience going, and see for yourselves exactly how it feels to be to go through one of these things, and have that kind of sense of peace brought to you is how I describe it.
We're so used to running, having this to do and that to do and the other to do, and we're distracted by all kinds of things. And part of what we have to do is set aside a little time every day just to calm down, meditate, relax. I used to do meditations here on campus, but now I do them on SoundCloud under You can Google rhythms of light meditations and find that. So there's about 20 different meditations on there. And a lot of people I know use them for healing, or they use them for to go to sleep too. But we could try that one day, a short one here on the podcast.
Yeah, or we can go over to Lucy Bow and use the classroom since it has the camera over there and,
That's right. We could
get
do
it
that
set
too.
up. But yeah, we're at that spot now
Yeah.
where I think it's that hour up. So we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes for now. And I hope that you guys were able to enjoy this discussion on frequencies and vibrations and how we can realign ourselves. You know, if our lives seem to be getting chaotic and out of order, you know, all we got to do is just take that step back, slow it all down. And, you know, it just takes a little bit of effort and time to get yourself back in balance. And once you
Yeah.
do, you know, the benefits outweigh the, the, the pace that we try to live our lives at. I know
Right.
that we're, like we said before, it seems like for me, it seems like I'm always constantly just trying to play catch up or keep up with, you know, all the things. But really, yeah, we just got to slow it down and enjoy life for what it
Right.
is, you know.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Give us a like, follow us.
We're still having Well Brighty meetings from 6 to 7:30 at the Lucy Bow Public Health
It's
Education
the Teacher and Health Education Building.
Teacher and Health Education Building. So if you guys are looking for a 12-step recovery meeting, feel free to Zoom in. Feel free to come in person. We got coffee, cookies, snacks. So yeah, but other than that, until next time, we'll see you. You guys all take care out there.